Welcome to the On the Line podcast, everyone. I'm your host, Noel Alberto, with co-host Oliver Dixon Jefford. Oliver, how are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Good. Another late night of tennis and plenty to talk about. And we are going to start today with the men. And oh boy, that bottom half has been absolutely decimated. And we're going to start with that late match from earlier today. Hyun Chung taking out six-time Australian Open champion Novak Djokovic, straight sets. Chung led in, obviously Chung led in all three sets, but Novak had leads in the second and third, but couldn't find a way to close the deal in any of them.
No, yeah, it was a bit of a strange match because, in all three sets, as you said, Hyun had, a sizable lead. He was 4-love up to begin with in the first set, a break up in the second. I can't quite remember exactly. He was 3-1 up in the third. Each time Djokovic fought back, which is kind of what you expect with, and he wasn't able to move on from that. He didn't look at his best, but it was very mentally tough and mentally composed performance from Chung. Obviously he wobbled a bit in each set, and yet each time he was able to regain his composure and then eventually pull through in the end. And incredible win for him. I mean, I know both of us predicted a big year for him and maybe a slam breakthrough, but maybe not this early. Maybe not beating the world number 4, Sasha Zverev, from 2-1 down, and then beating one of the all-time greats in straight sets to reach his first Grand Slam quarterfinal. Been a wonderful few days for him.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I was tuning in and out of the match, but whenever I watched it, it looked like he was chasing down every ball, and then he was fearless going backhand to backhand with Novak, and not many people decide to hit to Novak's backhand as a choice.
No, he was really. I think he said after that Djokovic had been his idol, and you can see why, because he was out Djokovic, as it were, chasing down so many balls incredibly quick around the court. And so, for the first time in God knows how many years, like Djokovic found out what it's like to play against him effectively some of the time. Complete nightmare for him, and he just didn't have it in him to pull through in the big stages of the match in the end. So maybe a little bit of match rustiness there.
Yeah,
Maybe,
for sure.
yeah, a little bit of injury trouble still. But, even though he lost, it's still good to see him back, playing well. I mean, this is an improvement on his result last year. So that's got to be a little bit encouraging for him. And it'd be interesting to see where he goes from now on.
Yeah, in his post-match press conference, he said he's still a bit annoyed about the elbow. Do you think that's still something to look for in within the next couple of months?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I don't think obviously he's been able to play this tournament, but I don't think it's going to be 100% straight away. The same with Wawrinka's injury troubles. It's going to take a while for him to build back into match fitness, the problems to build. But I think he will be able to shake it off. I think things will get better. I mean, he has obviously changed that service motion. It worked quite well early on in the tournament, so I don't think that was a major trouble for him. So I think maybe could be pushing it early on in the season to have big titles going his way, but I think he can build himself up back to top 5.
Yeah, I agree. He'll definitely crack back in the top 10. Top 5 is probably the most realistic goal for him. I mean, we both of us predicted big things from Chung, and it seems like the next gen finals might be a quote unquote stepping stone for these guys. And I think although there's been controversy with the event, with the format, how they did the draw, all that stuff, but I think it's actually a stepping stone. I mean, we've seen Medvedev already win his first career title after playing in the next gen finals, and then Chung, winner of the next gen finals, through the slam quarterfinal. First Korean ever. Absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, I think it's great for that event. Obviously, as you mentioned, there was criticisms of it, which I think in terms of the draw was incredibly understandable. In terms of the format, it's debatable. People either love it or hate it. There's some bits of it that I personally didn't like, some bits I did. But I think, yeah, because obviously Medvedev, the runner-up, obviously won his first title other week in Sydney, and obviously I think he won a match here. Yeah, he lost to Chung, in fact. And then obviously Chung won the title without dropping a match. And as he now through to the quarterfinal at a major, potentially semi-final. So yeah, it's a great start, and it looks like Chung's going to go in a real role this year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see though after the Australian Open how Chung copes with being high up, being the one with the target on his back per se.
Yeah, I mean he's obviously going to attract a lot of attention. I was watching on British Eurosport, and we had John McEnroe in the box for that match, and he was saying he was interested in getting Chung for the Laver Cup last year, but after watching the match against Djokovic, he was now really keen to get him on for when it takes place in Chicago.
Yeah.
So he attracted a lot more attention. I think a lot more people aware of him that weren't before and know how well he can play tennis. So obviously it's going to be interesting to see how he copes with that pressure.
Yeah, and he said obviously after his win over Zverev, tennis isn't that popular in South Korea. Not many people notice me on the streets, things like that, and think things are going to change for the young man. And then now we're going to talk about his quarterfinal opponent, Tennis Sandgren, who had a couple of big wins this tournament. Took out Stan Wawrinka pretty convincingly, and then went 5 with Dominic Thiem, who's the heavy favorite coming in, and got to be disappointing for Thiem to not have taken this one. But full props to Sandgren to grinding out rallies and finding a way to make his breakthrough as well.
Yeah, I really did not see this one coming. Incredible result for Sandgren. Just looking at his 2 sets to 1 up, and then that 4-set tiebreak, Thiem won 9-7. I'm guessing he might have had like a couple of match points there. I'm not sure. Do you know about that or not?
No, not off the top of my head, but I feel like if it's 9-7, there had to be some opportunities to potentially close out the match there.
Yes, but yeah, I mean, obviously it was close, even if he didn't have match points. And for him to rebound from that and then take the final set 6-3, incredible performance. I think it shows that obviously Thiem still struggles on hard, but he had looked better in general apart from his second round match. I mean, comfortable against Guido Pella and Adrian Manarino, looked pretty good in Doha a couple of weeks ago. So I think kind of little fallback for him, but incredible win for Sandgren, for someone who never won a slam match before coming in. To beat straight sets win in the opening round and then to beat Wawrinka, take the big opportunity in the third round against Maximilian Martyr and to build on it. And that is an open quarterfinal for both of them. I mean, I think Chung probably is the favourite for it, but we were talking about that pressure. He could probably done with facing someone who was a seed or higher ranked because there would have been less pressure on him. Now he's the higher ranked of the two, will be the favourite. It'll be interesting to see how he copes against that because clearly Sandgren is very dangerous at this tournament.
Yeah, and Sandgren is the first American to make a quarterfinal since Mr. Roddick. So been quite some times since we've seen an American make it this far at the American male make it this far at the Australia Open. But yeah, disappointing for Thiem. Thought if he won, definitely the favorite versus Chung as well. Probably would have seen Federer in the semifinals. So still disappointing to have not seen a quarterfinal outside of the French Open just yet.
Yeah, it's a bad loss for him. I mean, full credit to Sandgren for going out there, not being afraid, and putting through. But there was opportunity. There should have been a victory for Thiem here. So I think it shows he still has some work to do.
Mm-hmm. I think also for Sandgren, I think one of the things I heard from the American commentary is the fact that they gave props to him for being able to play out in rallies, mix up his shots, find different ways to win. Because I think it was Patrick or John McEnroe who was saying the other Americans. I mean, Query, Tiafo, Isner, etc. They're just trying to hit big.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there is obviously being able to hit big, as it were, it's always an advantage, but you do need more than that. And I think that's, as we've previously addressed, it's why a team sometimes struggles on hard, because that's what he falls back into. And he can kind of get away with it in clay, but he can't get away with hard courts. So yeah, I think that's probably why so many American, especially American men, like you said, have struggled in Australia before, because they need to try and vary it up. And Sangren's been willing to do that, and it's paid off for him.
Yeah. So amazing stuff from Sangren, and then also amazing stuff, even though despite losing in straights by Martin Fucsovics. So these two guys, mostly challenger level guys over the last couple years, making big breakthroughs. Fucsovics, despite a 4-6, 6-7, 2-6 loss to Federer, impressed you quite a bit, didn't he?
Yeah, he's had he's someone I became a bit aware of last year. I think he got a wild card into Wimbledon. So clearly he must have faith in him. I think he won one of the ITF warm-ups. But yeah, I mean, Federer mostly comfortable there, but obviously first time he's taken to a tie break. I think, obviously a very nice week for Fucsovics to get through to second round.
Federer, second week.
Second week even, yeah, excuse me. But yeah, Federer, I mean, particularly that final set, looked very comfortable. But, I mean, he's looked good so far. He hasn't looked amazing, but then not many people have. So he's made his way through, I mean, very well, but I think there's still a little more Federer can improve on.
Yeah. I mean, I was watching this match. It was pretty tight for the most part. Federer didn't look the sharpest, but obviously a lot lower ranked opponent. But it was his first time playing him too, so first set was kind of like get a feel for how Fucsovics plays, and then second, third set were more like, all right, let's see how my game plan evolves. And clearly after the tiebreak, game plan worked, running away final set 6-2. But his quarterfinal opponent will be Tomas Berdych, who took out Fabio Fognini in straight sets. And we talked about this before. Federer's won the last 8, but we really thought Berdych should have won last year in Miami. Federer rolled him last year here in the Australian Open when everyone thought Berdych would be his toughest test, or his first big test, and Federer rolled over him. I think Berdych coming in with wins over Del Potro, especially, and then obviously the win over Fognini, not as impressive, but still good, solid win. I think he'll be tricky for Federer.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a tough task for Roger. As you mentioned, Berdych struggled in the first 2 rounds, won both of them in 4 sets, but after that, looking very good. Comfortable against Del Potro, comfortable against Fognini, looking sharp. And I think, obviously, I do think Federer will win. But I think this will be the first real big challenge for him. I'd fancy Berdych to take at least a set. And it could be a test for Federer. His Berdych is looking good, which is nice to see because he had a pretty bad 2017. But looking fairly good early on this year, so he could be rising up the rankings.
Yeah, I mean, rough 2017 and rough Doha for him as well. He went out in his opening match, thought he may have taken a title or made a nice little run there to build up the confidence, but heading in, there wasn't much confidence from watching him, but props to him for taking his chances here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously Del Potro, never an easy match. Del Potro played well in his 2 matches, probably better than Berdych. Berdych was a slight underdog for that match and came through very comfortably. And obviously Fognini, he would have been the favourite against, but he's never an easy opponent and made that look very good as well. So yeah, 2 very strong wins for him there. A strong run in general, which is encouraging.
And yes, those matches, bottom half quarterfinals, will be in a couple of days. And then today's quarterfinals are obviously Nadal and Cilic, Dimitrov, Edmund, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Nadal Schwartzman, a near 4-hour grind fest as the Argentine battles against his idol.
Yeah, it was I'm surprised. I thought Nadal would have been a bit more comfortable in this match because Schwartzman is becoming more and more difficult to put away, and that proved to be the case. I've seen Nadal's first real test and came through it mostly fine, but obviously dropped that second set.
Yeah,
Schwartzman.
serve for the second set as well, up 6-5.
So yeah, certainly made to work hard. I mean, Schwartzman obviously proving himself to be a very good player, but maybe he just didn't have the weapons in the end, and Nadal came through. But I think a slight scare for Nadal, and not an easy match at all against Cilic, who's looking pretty sharp himself. Next,
yeah, and speaking of Cilic, takes out Carreño Busta in 4 sets. This was tight all around.
Yeah, I mean, Carreño Busta obviously reached the US Open semi-final, so we know he can play well at the majors. And French Open quarterfinals before that, and then regained his form here after a poor run. So not an easy match for Cilic, but Cilic did very well in the second and third round matches and did well to see off Carreño Busta today, who I think maybe some would have seen as a slight favourite. And I mean, you both had Cilic in the end. But yeah, encouraging win, and not an easy person for Nadal at all. Obviously got a big serve, so might not give Rafa too much rhythm. Certainly leaning towards Nadal to take it, but I do think Cilic is going to give him another relatively big test in this match.
Yeah, this is Nadal's first big hitting opponent. What did you say that Cilic was? He's for Nadal, the first top 25 player?
Yeah, the first top 25 player he's faced at a major since he beat Wawrinka in the French Open final.
Yikes.
It's crazy. So I think is 16. I think obviously 4 matches at Wimbledon. Yeah, 11. So 7 matches, US Open 11, 12. Yeah, first in 16 matches. He had 15 straight against non-top 25 opponents.
Oh, that's quite a stat. But now we move on to the last bit. Dimitrov takes out Nick Kyrgios in a very entertaining 4-setter. And then he'll face Kyle Edmund for a spot in the semifinals.
Yeah, it's a surprise one, but I think well deserved by both. Yeah, I mean, Kyle Edmunds had a great talk. He came from 2 sets to 1 down in his third round after having beaten Kevin Anderson in the first round, and then set in a breakdown in this match and came through, won the second set 7-5, and then came through 6-2, 6-3. So fantastic win for him against Seppi, who's played well in Melbourne and quite a few tough times. So yeah, incredible run for him. It's strange to see a British man that's not got the second name Murray in the last day of the Slam, but it's definitely encouraging. They're going to do good things to his ranking. And the Dimitrov-Kyrgios match was very good. I think Dimitrov looked much more solid than he did in his past 2 matches, especially than he did in the second round. He had that huge scare against Mackenzie McDonald. I think there could have been some chances for Kyrgios, but I think the pressure kind of showed because in that final set, he started getting a bit angry on court, like swearing a little bit, which is a shame. But I think still he played well in that match. Just Dimitrov looking very solid for the first time since his first round match.
Yeah, huge for Grigor to come out of that one. And definitely the favorite against Edmund, for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely the favourite. I mean, obviously, they've had a tight match in Brisbane a couple of weeks ago, and I think Dimitrov is a better matchup for Kyle Edmund than Kyrgios would have been. But I think, yeah, Dimitrov obviously looks much more solid. I think he's still a little bit vulnerable. I think Edmund is within the shot of causing another upset. But I've backing Dimitrov maybe to drop a set, but still come through.
Yeah, I'm fully backing Nadal, Dimitrov, Chung, and Federer to be our semifinalists.
I'm thinking of those lines as well, yeah.
Now we move on to the women. And as we see, for the most part, what we expected in the bottom half to play out with Svitolina taking out Alertova 6-3, 6-0, and then she'll face Elise Mertens. Both women are in for a shot for their first Grand Slam semifinal.
Yeah, this should be an interesting match. I think Svitolina has to be the favourite, but at least
She's won their loan meeting.
Yeah, they faced, I think, Istanbul final last year, didn't they, on clay?
Mm-hmm.
Svitolina won that won her, I think, her second title that year, or third. I'm not sure, but she won the title for sure against Mertens. Yeah, I think it's going to be match Svitolina. Svitolina looked very good against Alatova. Struggled a tiny bit early on, but after that was completely in control. But it's a match that Svitolina is going to need to be sharp for, because Mertens is a very tricky opponent. Yet to drop a set this tournament. Obviously, has already beaten a seed in Daria Gavrilova. So I think obviously she's got the bigger weapons as well, Mertens. So it's a match where Svitolina is going to need to prepare to defend, but also look to be aggressive and be the proactive one. I think she does have to be the favourite, but it would be stupid to rule Mertens out, I feel.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Mertens is quite the talent. Only 22 years old. Couple rough Grand Slam draws last year, but now took advantage of some upsets, and now she's through to a quarterfinal.
Yeah, it's a big run for her. Obviously, last year she obviously famously won the title in Hobart, which meant she missed out on playing here because she missed the qualifying draw. So for her to come back this year, obviously win a title in Hobart again, but being a draw automatically due to the fact she had such a great year, and then go on a best run of her career is a great achievement. And yeah, she's I think Svitolina will win this match, but I think there's a chance of Mertens, and this should give her a lot of confidence either way. She's someone who can certainly back up this run by going deep in further slams and potentially win slam titles in the future.
For sure. I think if Svitolina wins here, it's just what we expected, in the sense that once she gets further into the draw, she gets more comfortable.
I think absolutely. I think that's been a problem for her. In her past experiences, she hasn't been able to gain much momentum, or when she has, she's come up against like a tough opponent. I mean, look at the French Open, the first ever quarterfinal came up against Anna Ivanovic, obviously a former champion. A year later, the fourth round came up against Serena, got particularly pummeled off court that day, if I remember. See, last year had nearly beat Halep, should have beaten Halep. Obviously, I think lacked that confidence, but I think she's grown mentally since then. Obviously, had that tough loss against Keys at US Open last year. Tough start against Siniakova in the second round here. But yeah, looking very good, very sharp. And, she is the bookie's favourite to win the title now, I believe. So yeah, very dangerous.
Yeah, and all right. Next, the bottom part of this bottom half of the draw, Carlos Suarez Navarro takes out Annette Kontaveit in a very entertaining three-setter, and then Wozniacki rolls Magdalena Rybarikova as Suarez Navarro and Wozniacki meet for a semifinal spot.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big missed opportunity for Kontaveit. She had, the big weapons to challenge Suarez Navarro, and she was a set at the double break up, 6-4, 4-1. And then she kind of struggled a little bit. I think maybe the pressure caught up with her. I think Suarez Navarro is someone who's reached multiple Grand Slam quarterfinals before. Obviously, a former world number 6, so she wasn't feeling in the same way, much more confident, and she was eventually able to pull through. Very tight victory, but very impressive one. And it should be great for her ranking as well, because she is obviously unseeded. So it could help her boost her back up a little bit. But it was Wozniacki looking very sharp. Obviously, had that really tricky second round, as we've mentioned. Then looked good against Mertens. It looked great in that match. Just took 3 games against Rybarikova, who can be a tricky opponent. So I'm not someone who could have blasted Wozniacki in court, but someone who could have drawn her into really long rallies. So a great victory, and she has to be the favourite for that matchup.
Yeah, Rybarikova only won 5 points in that second set.
Yeah, I think Wozniacki, often when there's been expectation on her in slam, she has struggled a bit. But this year, with the exception of that second round match, she's looking great. She's not afraid to be aggressive. She's really striking her ground strokes better than she has from a few seasons ago. Really got that confidence in her game, and she has a great shot of winning a first slam now. But so did so many other people, so it's going to be certainly interesting.
I mean, the fact that probably the rest of the tournament's going to be played in the evening will definitely help Wozniacki. Courts are going to play slower than when they would in the daytime.
I think she'll still be in the daytime because the women's semi-finals will be on the daytime.
I know at least for sure she's playing tonight.
Oh, she's playing in the evening? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
She's last on Laver.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I think that will help her for sure. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, I know I predicted the Svitolina Wozniacki semi-final. Looks like that's going to happen. That'll be an incredibly interesting match. And I think that a lot of that could be down to the courts we saw in Singapore last year. The courts were so great for Wozniacki. She absolutely blew Svitolina off court, something like 2-love in less than an hour. But before that, Svitolina won their finals at the Rogers Cup, and I think in Dubai, comfortably because the courts played fairly fast and they were in her favour. So it'd be interesting to see what happens in that matchup.
Definitely.
If it happens.
If it happens, yeah, of course.
I think it will, but I think, Suarez, Navarro, Elise Mertens, both great players, could call shots.
And then the top half, we had Shea Su Wei really trouble Angelique Kerber, but Kerber finds a way to get through and will face Madison Keys, who rolled Caroline Garcia to get to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, this is a big matchup. I mean, all the matchups are interesting, but this is a quarterfinal that interests me the most. I think, as you mentioned, Kerber had a tough time for the first time in the ball against Sei Shu Wei. But Sei Shu Wei came in off 2 big wins against Francisco Muguruza and was just a game away from winning, actually. Kerber served to stay in the match at 4-5 in the second. But, she pulled through in the end. I think that's where the confidence was. She probably would have lost that match last year. I'm pretty sure of that. And, not a bad match by Sei Shu Wei at all. But, Kerber pulled through in the end. Both looked impressive. But, I think her experience at this stage, this was second week first, say, Hei Shu Wei in about 10 years. So I think that's what swung it in Kerber's favour in the end. But yeah, Keys yet to drop a set. I think maybe the only woman left to have done that, maybe. No, Mertens hasn't dropped a set either, actually. But yeah, looking very good. And she is someone who can hit Kerber off court. They've had some couple of tight matches in the past. She has beaten her. Kerber has beaten her as well, though. So it's a very tough one to call, I think, because a lot of people are going on about Kerber, but Keys is really peaking at the right time.
Yeah, the matchup of contrasting styles right there, Kerber and Keys.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be a real battle. I think it'll be another tight one.
3 sets?
I'm confident it'll be 3 sets. I think for me, it depends on Keys because I think obviously Kerber is a fantastic player. She knows how to win slams.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've got someone who hits so hard like Keys, if Keys is playing well, there could be nothing the likes of a Kerber could do, no matter how well she herself is playing. So I think it comes down to, mostly to Madison.
Yeah, which Madison will show up? The one that's been rolling or the one that played against Sloane Stephens in the U.S. Open final?
Yeah, I think obviously Kerber's going to frustrate her and get more points back than anyone she's played so far. So the thing is can she finish the points off early, or if she can't, can she be patient and not be forced into mistakes?
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be incredibly tight. I think Keys will play well, but I'm edging towards Kerber. I think because of that Grand Slam experience of having won tournaments, having been at this stage a bit more than Keys has.
Yeah, I'll give the slight edge to Kerber as well. And then the last 2 quarterfinals. So Simona Halep will meet Karolina Pliskova, as most people expected. Halep eased by Naomi Osaka, 3-2, and then Pliskova battle against countrywoman and not friend Barbara Streisand. How was the handshake?
Handshake was fun. I mean, I've seen before they've kind of cleared the air a bit. I mean, they didn't like embrace or hug anything, but there was no real tension. Stritzka was actually quite refrained throughout most of the match until he got to the final set, by which point Pliskova was just hitting her off court a little bit. It was a good match, 2 hours 40. Unfortunately, there's hardly anyone there at the end because it was, I think, 1:30 Melbourne time in the morning, which is a shame because obviously, not the Kyrgios match, what am I saying? The Chung Djokovic match. Obviously, it was 3 hours 21. Could you imagine if that had gone to extra than that? God.
Oh god!
If Novak special had come up.
Novak special, yeah.
So Pliskova. I mean, the first set was great in that match, and Pliskova didn't look bad. Just Stritzka played very well, and Stritzka's level dropped a little, and Pliskova proved too strong. So I think her past 2 matches against her fellow Czechs have been tough, but I think she's looking fairly sharp. Some good tennis from her. So, yeah, I think, but Halep looked great as well against Osaka after such a tough match before. 3-2 against the big hitters, came in first ever second week, obviously very confident. It's a great win for her.
Yeah, I mean, with Osaka, it was obviously going to be a lot different to how Lauren Davis played. And I think Halep was, quote-unquote, annoyed with how Davis played because she just got every ball back. And at least against Osaka, with power players, they can get impatient and they force the errors out of themselves.
Yeah, so it's a bit like what I said about the Djokovic-Chung match. Djokovic came up against someone who plays like himself, so virtually himself, and I think that was the problem for Halep in the third round. Came up against someone who's quick, not the most powerful, not the tallest, but just runs after every ball and usually gets them back and does something meaningful with them. So I think against someone like Osaka who's more likely to make errors, she does feel more comfortable, and that showed because that's a convincing win. And I've seen some highlights of her match. She looked very sharp. So I think she's probably the favourite for that match against Pliskova. I think she leads the head-to-head fairly comfortably. I believe I heard something like on the lines of 4-1. So yeah, I think she'll probably come through that match.
I'd like to agree to disagree with you there because I have a shot to win the brackets for the women.
You have Pliskova, don't you, winning the title?
No, I checked it. I have Pliskova in the final over, and then her losing to Svitolina for the title. So Svitolina takes the title.
Yeah. I have all my 4 semi-finalists are still in, which I think obviously the first time that's happened. I had obviously Halep, Kerber, and Sitting and Wozniacki. I think my instinct says that they should all still make it through. The one I think is most susceptible is Kerber against Keys. So it'd be interesting, I think.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. So Oliver, before we end this, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter at OliverDJ1998.
You can find me, Noel Alberto, at NotFirstNoel. You can find the pod Twitter at On The Line Pod. We'll be back in a couple of days to discuss quarterfinal action and preview the semifinals. I hope everyone has a very good day.